Hello and welcome to Wellness Wednesday Live. I am Bethany Zell from Cary Medical Center's Healthy You program, and I'm joined today by Teresa Gillis, who is the campaign manager for the Campaign for Tobacco Free Kids here in the state of Maine. Hello, thank you for being here today, Teresa.
Hi, thank you for having me, Bethany. It's great to be here and nice to see you again.
Awesome. Well, many may not associate tobacco use with increased stroke risk or cardiovascular disease, but it really does play into cardiovascular health. And I know you've been doing a lot of work around tobacco related issues here in the state of Maine. And I'm going to hand it over to you to give some information about what you've been doing, what your program is all about. And then we're going to talk a little bit more with some questions at the end, just about how this ties into cardiovascular health and why these issues are really important to those of us here in Maine.
Yeah.
So with that, I'll mute myself and hand it over to you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. So yeah, I thought we would start today with a presentation that we have been using to engage and educate different health organizations around the state. So, and we do have about 35 health organizations across Maine that are in support of the campaign and have partnered with us to end the sale of all flavored tobacco products in Maine, including menthol, and our bill number is LD 1550. So our campaign is called Flavors Hook Kids Maine. And if we do, when we do, I'm going to correct that, when we pass this legislation, we will be the third state in the country to pass a flavor ban, which is really exciting. It would just be, the first was actually Massachusetts about a year and a half ago now, and the second was California last August. So we will be number 3. So I will get started with, hopefully, I'm not like the expert at doing this, but I will try my best. So yeah, obviously the reason we do this is, or why we're, looking to ban all of the flavored tobacco products in Maine, is because the tobacco industry strategically and systematically have targeted our kids with flavored tobaccos. So we believe that, in order to have a prosperous and healthy future for our kids, that it's important to educate them and all of us on why the tobacco industry has targeted them to create their next, generation of customers, basically. So, and sorry, here, I know I haven't gonna look through this. So I'll give you some of the stats, really. So the tobacco use among youth is on the rise. It's actually been rising pretty rapidly the past 2 years, unfortunately. And 30% of high school students are now using tobacco, including, cigarettes, cigars, e-cigarettes, smokeless tobacco chews, and there's the actually increased to 25% since 2015. And 29% of high school students use e-cigarettes, a rate that has nearly doubled, like I said, in the past 2 years. And most, kids who, or adults who have or are smokers, started before the age of 21. So it really is that, space that we need to catch before they start, so they don't become lifelong addicted smokers. And if you want to just look at it purely from a healthcare, or monetary standpoint, smoking literally results in direct healthcare costs of $811 million. And 2,400 people in Maine will die from smoking-related illnesses if it continues at the rate we are right now. And it really blows your mind when you start hearing these numbers, right? Yes. So the tobacco industry, this is just in Maine, spends $45 million on product marketing in our state. And I can tell you, like, firsthand, this startles me. You know, when you can hear all of this stuff, but when it becomes real to you is when you're in a hearing, right, at the state house, or this year it's been all on Zoom, so we're in the hearings on Zoom. But you know, when we bring our people to give testimony, our physicians, a lot of pediatricians, you know, teachers, superintendents, go on, and they're talking about kids and why we need to do this, right, and to keep them healthy. And then you have these tobacco industry people come in, and most of them are not from Maine. They are from all over the place. A lot of them are from New York City, and the tobacco industry literally hires these people. We do not hire people to come and testify for us against the tobacco industry. For the tobacco industry, they are hiring people. I think this is a really important fact for people to know. They are hiring physicians across the country. They are hiring clergymen to come and speak at these hearings and say how wonderful their products are. Yes. Sorry, it floors me every time I experience it. So I really want people to know that, because it makes a huge impact on me. So we feel like the time to act is now, especially with the stories of, you know, obviously we're all dealing with COVID-19, right? And it is a long disease. And so it's even more important now to keep your lungs healthy and strong. So again, we can, you know, have the next generation of healthy tobacco-free kids. These are just some of our partners that we have their support for the campaign. We have actually many more than this now. I figured we would just use some of them because it would take up a lot of slides. So I took some of the main ones. But again, our campaign is called, you know, Flavors Hook Kids Maine. And this is actually our logo on our Facebook page. So you can look for us there to follow and see what we're doing. And also we have Instagram and Twitter. Facebook seems to be the most prominently used at this time. But I think another really mind-blowing fact is the tobacco industry is offering our kids 15,000 over. It's actually not even just this number, but 15,500 flavors of tobacco. Things from cotton candy to, oh my gosh, strawberry bliss. I mean, it just goes on and on. And as you'll see in some of these slides, the packaging looks exactly like a lot of the same candies. Here are some of the examples: the winter menthol, peppermint mocha, cherry crush, banana blast, Pop-Tart. It just goes on and on.
And I if I can interrupt,
yeah, please.
They're naming them even after like famous YouTubers.
Oh,
and folks that not adults are not watching these people. They wouldn't know who these people are. They're people that our kids know. They're people that our kids are plugged in with. So why are you naming it after teen stars if you're not aiming at teens?
Exactly. No, it's totally true. And they'll say, oh, we're using it as a cessation device, right, Bethany? That's like their big argument for adults to stop smoking. It's not proven, by the way, as a cessation device, any of the e-cigarettes or vapes. But secondly, it's only 2% of adults that are using flavors in their tobacco products. 2%. So that leaves how much more? And 98% of their customers are kids using the flavored products. So that's another, you know, statistic that just is mind-blowing. But so we are seeing what we know is 4 out of 5 kids who have used tobacco, like I said earlier, started with a flavored tobacco product. And they do start before 21, 4 out of 5 people. So if you can get, people or the population generally to like 21 or early 20s, mid 20s, most likely you will never smoke in your lifetime, and it's obviously, as we all know, the developing brain as well. That making the decisions is not fully developed until you're like the age 25, 26. So again, it's important to just keep it out of their hands until we can make sure they're not going to go back and use it and become that next generation. It's really our responsibility, I feel like. So yes, and here we go. I know I can talk about this subject forever, so I apologize. I start getting ahead of all the slides, but 95% of adult smokers start by the age of 21, like I said, in the developing brain before age of 26. So yeah, if we can keep it out of their hands, we have a great shot at really lowering the use of tobacco across the board. And menthol, a lot of people don't realize menthol is a flavor. Actually, before starting to work on tobacco issues 3 years ago, I didn't think about it either, and I was never a smoker, thankfully. But it literally numbs your throat. Think about, you could put it in the context of like a menthol cough drop.
Cough drop.
So yeah. So what do you use a menthol cough drop for? Right? To numb your throat, and so you don't feel the pain. It doesn't hurt. Right? Same thing. That's what the tobacco industry knows and is doing with their menthol products. The menthol numbs your throat, and so it makes it easier to breathe that cigarette smoke in. Yeah, I mean, when you think about it like that, again, really, the more you learn about the tobacco industry, the more oh gosh, I don't know a nice word to say. Can you think of any, Bethany?
No, it's just very deceptive. And,
Yes.
and I shared with you before, as a past menthol smoker who's now quit, if menthol had not been an option for me when I was 18 years old, I would never have started, because you're right. It changes the taste. It masks that disgustingness of smoking, that smoking taste that, that weeds out a lot of people automatically, just the gross taste of plain old tobacco. So yeah, I know for sure if menthol had not been an option, I would never have, I wouldn't have smoked for more than 10 years. And it's still something that innately I still feel that tug and that pull, even though I'm not going to go back to it. And now I know that the menthol definitely contributed to some of that continued pull.
Absolutely. You're absolutely right. And actually, if I can tell a quick little personal story, not personal for me, but one of the stories I have been told, and I actually read some of this testimony at our hearing for the LD 1550 or bill, was of a 10th grade girl who was brave enough to write her personal story for me and couldn't be there that day because she needed to be in school. Maine girl, 10th grade. I know her actually personally since she was little, but she started vaping in 8th grade, just a little bit on and off with friends. And then it got worse when she got to high school. But in her testimony, my point is to the whole flavor and menthol piece of this is she once tried tobacco just in its, without any flavor. And she was like, oh my God, that was the most disgusting thing I've ever tasted. I would never put that back in my mouth. You don't really need to say more than that.
No, it's absolutely true. No one does. No, I mean, I can't imagine anyone. I've never known any of the smokers in my world to like smoke a regular cigarette and be like, that was delicious. Or be like, I'm doing it for the flavor of the tobacco like that. Nobody says that.
Yeah. Yep. So that really, stuck out to me. And I really thank her for that. And a, little story. It was powerful. So also, as we all know, that the tobacco industry has a long lethal history of targeting youth to make them their next generation smokers. They also target marginalized communities because they're just, so full of integrity, right? They go after people who, more apt, who are feeling vulnerable and want some comfort, which, shame on them. So we do know things like the LGBTQ community has been specifically and systematically targeted for years by the tobacco industry with ads such as this, and what they do to the tobacco industry at LGBTQ, at African American neighborhoods or indigenous, they will put them their advertisements literally close to schools, like they bend all of the rules next to their events, closer than, I forget what the footage is supposed to be between, an advertisement for tobacco, but they bend them all. They will support things like the Pride Parade and hand out free cigarettes to everyone, vapors, all the different flavors, just so once they know someone will try it, they will start to get hooked right away, because the little vape pods contain a lot more nicotine, the addictive substance in tobacco, than a normal cigarette does, a combustible. So it's an entire pack of cigarettes in that one little vape pod, I guess it's called. So they hand them out for free. They're so kind. And like I said, they have been targeting the African American community, making it cool, targeting to women specifically. And telling them they're going to feel better, they're going to be cooler, they're going to be more liked. Just a lot of lies to get you hooked. Using, indigenous, well, I don't need to say anymore. If we just look at this photo, just targeting them directly in such a shameless way. Actually, I'd like to go back to that for just a sec. It just reminded me of, so we've also connected with the indigenous tribes in Maine, the Penobscot Nation, for this campaign, which has been wonderful. It just adds a whole nother layer. It's been great getting to know some of the people that are affiliated with the Wabanaki tribe. And they were talking about how they feel used in so many ways by the tobacco industry, but really the fact that they have taken something that the tobacco in its basic form that they used almost as a prayer, or as a prayer. I don't know the extent of that, but they have taken it and made it this very commercial, dirty product, and then got all of their people hooked. And it's heartbreaking to hear their stories. It really is. And so here are some examples of, this is e-juice on the left. That is literal packaging for e-juice, which is the juice that you put in vape products, which looks just like candy. And kids don't look at that and think, oh, that's bad for me, right? I hear that story over and over. I've talked to many school nurses, substance use counselors in high schools through this campaign, and they hear these kids are terrified because now they're addicted to nicotine, right? And they feel awful and they feel used and they don't know any way out. They're terrified, literally. And they thought it was just a flavor, that they were water and some, you know, strawberry pop or whatever that they were ingesting. They did not realize that it was a nicotine addictive product. So tobacco companies, like I said earlier, you know, they target low income neighborhoods, African American, LGBTQ. They advertise bigger, glossier, sexier ads in their magazines, at their celebrations, and really, you know, just set them up for a lifetime of addiction. There's the 1,000 feet of a school. I wasn't sure what that number was, but they push all of the boundaries in those neighborhoods in particular. So these are some of the numbers. We know 8 in 10 African American adults who smoke use menthol cigarettes. They have been specifically targeted with the menthol products over the years. LGBTQ young adults 18 to 24 are nearly twice as likely to use tobacco than their non-LGBTQ peers. And again, I heard stories, I've spoken to a lot of young adults now, LGBTQ during this campaign, who just, they felt like they were sold lies. They were sold lies. They were sold that they were going to be cooler, like I was saying, and comforted by these products and more accepted. And what they became were just addicts, which is just, sorry, I get like really emotional. Like now I know all the people, right? So it's very personal to me. And yeah, it's tough. And then 8 in 10 high school students and 9 in 10 young adults who currently use e-cigarettes all use flavored products. And oh yeah, that's another one. 7 in 10 teens say that flavors are the reason they started. Because like I said earlier, they don't realize that there is nicotine addictive products in these flavored juices they think they're ingesting. So the tobacco industry used flavors, the menthol, it drives up, you know, the systemic health disparities and makes the gap even wider. So we also, you know, really feel like this is a justice and equity issue as well, because they are more likely to be targeted and start smoking. And we want to have a healthy next generation in Maine of non-smokers rather than, you know, the next generation of addicted kids and adults. So we feel like this is the time to end the sale of all flavored tobacco products in Maine. And a lot of this, because we're so far into our campaign now, we've already done, but I left them up here. So we've done things like, as I said earlier in the presentation, we gave presentations and educated organizations all across the state and asked them to share their logos with us, just so we have a visual to show people that they are a partner with us. We have been educating policymakers by having legislative briefings, all different types, like Bethany mentioned earlier. We did the menthol and race disparities. I was led a education panel where I had superintendents, substance abuse counselors, teachers, and they all spoke to their experience. We also had a principal, mom. It was a really great event and was well attended. And, you know, the things that we can really do is when you learn this information, right, you need to tell somebody else about it so they are aware of what the tobacco industry is doing as well. So sharing your information with your networks, and We have our info at flavorswithkidsmaine.org, email that you can reach out to, or Bethany has my email that she can share with you. And really, would you like, Bethany, should I say at this point, where the where our bill is and what people can do?
I was just going to ask. I was just going to ask, like, to start out, like, where are we at with the legislative process for flavor bill?
Yeah, it started to feel like that should be a natural point right here. So, okay, thank you. Again, I haven't done this much, but I appreciate Bethany having me. So where our bill LD 1550 is right now, and it's an act to end the sale of all flavored tobacco products in Maine, is we had our hearing, our legislative hearing with the Health and Human Services Committee I want to say 2.5 weeks ago now. And it went really well. I got 51 people there to testify live. Again, like lots of pediatricians. We had school people, we had kids, youth, teenagers. It was wonderful. And the tobacco industry also came out in big numbers. They had, I believe it was 32. Again, mostly non-Mainers. I think there were a couple Mainers sprinkled in here and there. But yes, mostly paid people to be there. And a lot of written testimony as well. So we did, the following week, the Health and Human Services Committee met for their work session, and they did pass. We were voted, pass for our bill to move on. And we are now waiting to basically get to the House floor for a vote and then to the Senate. But we are also, there is a fiscal note attached in a way, which the governor also added to her budget, which is fabulous in case, God forbid, something goes wrong. But of course, the budget also needs to pass. So we did have a hearing last week with the Appropriations Committee as well, just asking them to please support the bill. And I believe they are actually meeting today for their work session. So everybody, fingers crossed, good energy going towards the State House.
Now, just to clarify, this is at the state level, right? Not the federal level. This is state. Now, one question I'm curious about too. I know with ACS CAN, we've done some advocacy work for raising the tax on tobacco products. And I can't remember offhand, that's all tied into this one piece of legislation, or is that separate?
They are actually separate bills. They're standalone bills, but as you may know, Beth, I'm sure Bethany knows this, but things start to get a little interwoven, right? So, but we are still trying to keep them as two separate bills. But there is a bill in as well to raise the tobacco tax for $2.
Which hasn't been changed. Just for those watching, it has not been raised since 2005.
You are correct.
Crazy. That is crazy. There has been no tax raise on tobacco products in the state of Maine since 2005. So with a $2 tax increase per pack, that would price some of our youth out of smoking completely. Yeah. They just wouldn't be able to afford it. So we're all working hard for both of these things. They're both so important.
No, you're totally right. And if I could just add to that, we do know that price is the number one way to keep youth from starting to smoke. And I was always surprised by this, but it's in the data. So it's a proven fact. And it's the number one way to incentivize people to quit who are already smokers. So that is, a lot of people think, oh, what kind of role does raising the tax do, right? The price of the pack of cigarettes or the vape products. And that it is a proven fact that it's the number one way to deter people from starting. And incentivize them to quit.
Yeah, for sure. And
Yeah.
since we're talking about quitting, it seems natural to talk next about what, we're fortunate here in the state of Maine to have a lot of tobacco quit and prevention resources. Obviously, we don't have enough money pouring into prevention resources that we can go dollar for dollar against that 45 million in advertising that's coming in. But how can people access these resources? Are these programs at risk because they're not getting funded?
Yep. Yes, which is why we're so thrilled that Governor Mills is supportive of this legislation, right? She is implementing it in her budget, her annual budget, to fully fund the cessation programs. And that is so important, as everyone knows. And there is a great program right now called the Maine Quit Link as well, which I'm not affiliated with, but it is an excellent free program that is also proven to help you. And I've spoken to people who have been longtime smokers and have used this link, and it has worked for them. So,
yeah, and we'll definitely post those resource links in the comments of this video, and when we post it up on the YouTube channel, we'll get them all connected with you and all these things that we're talking about here today. But yeah, that Quit Link, it's an exhaustive resource. And I mean, it'll help cover the cost of gums and lozenges, or, and it can be like, I think they have a texting option now because of COVID. So some of that some of it has been developed out of the COVID-19 pandemic, which, you want to kind of look for the silver lining, the fact that some of these resources are becoming even more accessible to Mainers as a result of the pandemic and how we've risen to the occasion. But yeah, we'll put the Quit Link link in there because you can get a lot of help in taking the first steps and continuing with them. And the reason, I invited you here today is because this whole month we're focusing on stroke risk and stroke awareness. And a lot of people may not even think about the health impacts of tobacco use. I know it's responsible for 1 in every 3 cancers, not to mention just dental problems, cardiovascular health. There are so many parts of our body that are negatively impacted by smoking. And maybe you can tie in a little bit about the cardiovascular piece and how tobacco impacts that risk.
Well, first of all, when you breathe in the tobacco, it is literally affecting every part of your body, every main stem piece of your body that tobacco nicotine goes into. When you think about it like that, that was another, thing that I really started thinking about a few years ago working on this issue. And that just terrifies me. It literally engages with every single piece of your body when it's breathed in. And, cigarette smoking is the chief cause preventable disease and death in the US. And those words alone, I think, have a huge impact because it, raises your blood pressure, right? It lowers all your good stuff, your cholesterol and LDLs. It actually lowers all of that. And it makes your blood kind of get sticky and hard to move through your body. And so it causes blood clots. And think about what that does in your heart, right? When your blood is sticky and clots. These are really tangible things that you can think about and go, oh my God, what it looks like in your body. It literally damages your cells and your blood vessels, breaks them down so they're not strong anymore, and it increases actually your plaque, which builds up in your heart and your blood vessels and makes it harder for your blood to flow. So, so basically it's causing thickening of your, thickening and narrowing of your blood vessels.
Yeah. And it's horrible when you think of it that way.
Yeah.
And I think it's easy to disassociate the mouth
Yep.
intake, ingestion of it from all of the body. But I
Exactly.
think, the one hopeful thing I think that we could leave everybody with is
Yeah.
from the first few minutes that you quit,
Yeah.
your body begins to reverse
Heal.
and heal. And
Yes.
you can eventually become just like you were as a non-smoker,
Yep.
the further out you are from quitting. So,
Yep.
if for all the people listening who might be listening a replay, there's hope.
Yeah.
You
Yes.
can quit. I have quit successfully, and and I had a pretty decent smoking habit. So
Yeah.
it can happen, and your body, the food will begin to taste differently. You'll breathe easier. You'll notice improvements as you're going up and down stairs. There's no reason at the age of 26 or 27 that someone should be huffing and puffing up and down the stairs. But
Yep.
those are things that can be reversed just by taking the step to quit. So I encourage you to do it. Make that call today. Making the call is the hardest thing you can do, the hardest part of it. And it gets easier.
I love that you said that. Yes, we can heal. The body's amazing. So you can make a choice that's going to hurt you, but you can repair it. There's always a way to get better. And people want to help. And I just want to make a plea for our campaign. Anyone who wants to get involved, you can do it you could do it in a big way if you wanted and contact me, or you can do it in a very quick, simple way by calling your lawmakers. We are moving to the House and Senate floor for the vote in Maine. Just see if you don't already know who your lawmaker is in your town, in your county, call them and say, hey, you need to support this important legislation to keep the next generation of youth in our, not just the youth in Maine, but the next generation of Mainers healthy and safe, so they can have the best, strongest, prosperous future. And that is the best way to take care of our beautiful state.
It really is. And so I really thank you so much for your time today and all this great information. And we're definitely going to provide all the links for people to take action and connect with you and the resources we've mentioned. And for those watching, thank you for being here today.
So much, Bethany, and thank you. And don't hesitate to reach out.